doing, thank you, Nandgopalji. We're here doing an introduction to Sanskrit rules and the rules of chanting, just an introduction. We're not getting deep into it, but we're doing what is going to be or what has been relevant to us, to those of us who are chanting the Bhagavad Gita, certain mantras, the Vishnu Sahasranam, Lalita Sahasranam, whatever else at the Mundaka Upanishad for some of us also, right? So we're touching upon all of those things that are relevant to us. And again, it's only an introduction. It is an overview. We're not going deep into the details because as we had discussed yesterday, we're covering some important aspects of the auxiliary limbs of the Vedas, which are called the Veda Angas, right? So Shiksha is one entire auxiliary limb. Chanda, which is meter, is one entire auxiliary limb, right? Vyakaran, grammar, is in one entire auxiliary limb. And it takes a long time to actually study them in detail, which we're not doing. We're just touching upon them, right? Again, to see what is important for us to remember when we are doing the chanting of the Bhagavad Gita and the various stotras, mantras that we do, all right? Okay, so having said that, yesterday, I will just share the file. Yesterday, we had done an overview of the Devanagari Varnamala, the alphabet or the letter system, the communication system of Devanagari, right? Of Sanskrita. You can see the file clearly, right? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yes. All right. So we had very quickly, once again, we had kind of just seen the swaras. What are the swaras, short and long? What are the compound swaras? What is anuswara? We've done a little bit of anuswara in detail. We've not yet done visarga in detail, which we will do today, right? And then we'd seen what is vyanjan, what are the vyanjanani, what are the consonants, the different categories of consonants, how each of the categories has 5 different letters, right? Some of them are alpa prana, short breath. Some of them are mahaprana, deep breath, right? Deep exhalation, like kha, gha, so on and so forth, and anuswara, the nasal category, the 5th akshara of each of these categories. We've seen what is antasthas, which are, you'll see this little box out here because I covered what I'd written. I'd written it as semi-vowel, which is not really correct. It's actually a soft consonant. Yara, lava, these are soft consonants, right? And we've seen the ushmanahas, the sibilant, sh, sa, and hers. And we've taken a look at these special characters, understood what Purna Viram is, and we're going to take a look at these swaras today. We'd seen Anuswara in detail yesterday, and now we come to Visarga. We're not yet done with Anuswara, by the way. We're going to come back to Anuswara when we do Sandhi. All right. So in a little bit. For now, we come back to Visarga. What is Visarga? We see this in the Varnamala, which is this symbol right here. This thing right here. This is a Visarga. Aha. Aha. When it is in its akara, with the it is pronounced as aha. So Visarga is an aspirated sound. It is the pushing out of breath, right? And it takes on what happens, that ha takes on the sound of the vowel of the swara that it is attached to. So if there is an before it and then the Visarga follows, the sound is aha. If there is a ka before it, it becomes what? Kaha, right? If there is an I before it, it becomes ihi, so on and so forth. Right? Visarga, like Anuswara, can never start a word. No word, no varna, no letter can ever begin with a Visarga. It always works as a closure for a vowel, for a letter. All right? And it is categorized as it is grouped with a particular letter. It always follows. It appears immediately after any letter. Right? So there are some examples given out here. In English, the transliteration, it is symbolized as an H with a dot under it. H with a dot under it. Right? So this is aha, laha, raha, moho. Right? So you see how the Visarga takes on the sound of the vowel that it is attached to, of the swara it is attached to. Right? If it is Rishihi, it becomes Ihi, right? And there are a couple of examples out here. Ramaha, Balaha, Tapobhihi, Mumukshuhu, and Kavayoho, right? So each time, based on the swara that it is attached to, the vowel that it is attached to, the sound that it is attached to, it takes on that particular sound, right? Very simple, right? Any questions? There's actually nothing more to this at this point in time. So any questions with regard to Visarga? No? Great.
Tanmayji, why is it called a Visarga?
Why it is called Visarga, we will get, that is Nirukta. You're getting into etymology right now. So we'll first cover what is relevant to us. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll get to etymology and meaning at a later point in time.
Okay.
All right. Sarga means creation. Right? It is a creation.
That is what I was wondering, because in Gita we had seen that
Sarga means creation. Actually, each word has a very specific meaning and very deep meanings, right? So Visarga means Vishesha creation, a special creation, special creation. So whenever there is a Visarga, it is a subject that is being spoken about. Ramaha means of Ram. Ram is the subject at that point in time. Balaha. Balaha is a child. The child is the object at that time. So it's a special creation, right? It is talking about that. So interesting question, right? Mumukshuhu, the mumukshu, right? That is being spoken about, the subject, right? So Visarga, it makes anything is made into a special creation when a Visarga is attached to it. That is why, right? Okay. Any other question related to Visarga? We're not yet done with it. We'll come back to it when we get into the Sandhi portion of it, right? So we'll take a little bit of time with Sandhi. Any questions here for now?
Tanmaji,
yes, June.
In the second word in the examples, Balaha, the Visarga comes after an elongated A.
Yes.
So the sound after the Visarga is also an elongated A or normal A?
Balaha.
Okay.
Balaha. Ramaha. Balaha. Tapobhihi. Mumukshuhu. Kavayoho. Always taking on the sound of the svara that it is attached to.
So if it's elongated A,
it is an elongated ha.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Okay. It's always better to ask questions rather to have it remain inside and then keep wondering. So please understand that no question is small or not important. They're all equally important, right? Okay. So we move on now. We're done with the first portion, which was an overview of the system of the Devanagari Varnamala, the alphabet system, and we move on to the next thing, Swara. Now we've already done swaras, right? Where did we do swaras? We did it in the alphabet, in the Varnamala, right? Swara is what? Is a vowel, right? Usually, right? A, I, E. These are swaras. So this is not that swara. This swara is a different swara. This swara refers to tone, a tone, right? So a melody or a tone or a pitch, right? The Vedic mantras, not necessarily other mantras, but specifically the Vedic mantras, all have been given swaras, right? What are these swaras? These are very particularly assigned pitch or tone meant for intonation of each of the syllables of a mantra in the Vedas. I'll give you a couple of examples in a little bit, right? So there are various swaras. We just said a mantra right now, right? A little while ago, Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, right? And if you noticed, there was a little bit of up and down that happened within that, right? And this happened, why? Because of swara. We did not say Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karvavahe. We did not say it in one way. What do we do? Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, right? It is not random. One is not randomly decided that, oh, I'm going to go high on this place, low on this place. This is because of swaras attached to each of those sounds, right? Each of the syllables, each of the sounds have a tone, have a pitch assigned to it. And that is what makes the entire mantra, right? The sound is not just the letter, right? A, B, C, D. It's not just the letter. It is also the swara attached to it. It is an integral part of the mantra. Right? So let's take a look at the types of swaras. Please note that the swaras are not used for the Bhagavad Gita shlokas. It is not used in Vishnu Sahasranam, Lalita Sahasranam. It's specifically used in Vedic mantras, which actually also do include the Upanishadic mantras also. So a lot of you have been learning the Mundaka Upanishad chanting, and we do that with swaras, right? Bhagavad Gita, any of the Sahasranamas not done in that manner, right? So no need to worry about this.
So Om, the Bhagavad Gita tune that is there, what is that?
We'll come to that in a little bit.
Okay,
we'll come to that in a little bit. That doesn't have any swara attached. That has something, but not swara. All right. So there are three types of swaras, three main types of swaras and one subtype. Right? What are these? This is, first of all, always start off with that which you do a comparison with. Right? What do you do a comparison with? That which remains in the middle. Correct? So that's a normal. What remains in the middle is normal for us. For example, this pitch that I'm talking in right now, this is a normal tone for me. For some of you, it might be a low tone. For some of you, it might be a high tone, but for me, it is a normal pitch, normal tone, right? Each of the swaras have a symbol assigned to them, but the normal tone does not have a symbol assigned to it. This normal pitch, the middle pitch, is called udata, udata, and it does not have any symbol attached to it, right? So if you see any shlok, any mantra, which doesn't have any other, symbols attached apart from the matras and things like that, know that it is set in a normal tone. So just to give you an example, there is an out here and it is normally said as a. Right? The second tone is a lower tone, right? From middle, then we go low, right? And the lower tone is called anudata, anudata. This is a low bass pitch, lower than normal. And it is very aptly symbolized with a horizontal line underneath the syllable, underneath the akshara, the letter that needs to be pronounced with a low tone, right? So this is a, this is a, right? You get the difference? All right? Got that? And the third one is svarita, svarita, svarita. Svarita is a high pitch, a raised pitch, a high tone, higher than normal, right? And it is symbolized. How do you know that a letter has to be pronounced with a high pitch? You will see that it has a vertical line above it, a vertical line above it. So right? Got this? 3 swaras. 1, 2, 3. Udata, anudata, svarita. And the svarita has a subtype, which is called dirgha svarita. There are some of you out here for whom this is a favorite swara, right? So dirgha svarita. Dirgha means long, svarita means high. So it is an extended high tone. It is actually a mixed tone, right? It's an elongated mixed pitch. So sort of a double tone, so to speak. And it is, how is it mixed? How is it elongated? It first is middle and then it goes higher, right? So it is there in Sahana Bhavatu. So we'll come to that right now to see an example, right? So it is a, I couldn't do the Hindi, the Devanagari with that. So I'm sorry about that, that you have an English representation out here. There's this A with a double line on top. It is symbolized with 2 vertical lines above the letter that needs to be pronounced with the double tone, with the dirgha svarita pitch. So that is dirgha svarita. Right? Let's see this with an example. And since I can right now, since I can see June's face, let me ask June. June, would you like to give a demonstration of how it is pronounced?
Okay. The whole thing?
The whole thing.
Okay. Sahana vavatu, sahana punaktu, saha viryam karavavahai, Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you so very much. Very nice. Right? So that is an, you could see wherever the tone changes, June's pitch and tone also changed. Was that clear for everyone? Yes.
Yes.
You can all unmute yourselves and say yes or no, or if any doubt is
Yes,
there, then
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is clear.
Okay. Let us take another example. I'm going to have to stop sharing this file and I'm going to share another. So just give me a second. All right. So there's another one out here. And this is a mantra. This is called a Pavamana mantra, a purifying mantra. It is taken from the Brihadaranya Upanishad, Pavamana mantra. So out here, this has a lot of, what are these? It has, one doesn't see any other swara except for Anudata and Udata. So there's a normal tone and a lowered tone, right? Anudata. So asatoma sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya. Right? And another popular one that we always end with, I'll be sending you this file, so don't worry, no need to take screenshots, I'll send it to you. This is another one. This has also only Anudata, Anudata. Right? So this is Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All right. Okay. If you would like to have more of a practical experience of the swaras, I would welcome you to join the Upanishad chanting, Mundaka Upanishad chanting. But like I said, this is not used in Bhagavad Gita, in the stotras, right? So this doesn't have to be really taken into account for anyone else, right? This is the swaras. Swaras are an integral part of Vedic chanting, right? The yajnas are done, yajnas are all mantra based, right? They're all sound based, all mantra based. And any mantra that is done for yajna, it has to be done with the correct swar, right? Mantra chanting in a yajna without the swaras does not, any yajna is done for a very specific phala, for a very specific fruit, right? Any yajna, the fire ritual, it's done for a very specific fruit. And that fruit does not come into fruition when the mantra is not done with the correct swara, right? A mantra is not merely a group of letters. It is it's a coming together of sounds, which is energy, right? And that sound, that energy, apart from just merely the letters, it also includes the tone, the pitch, in which the mantra has to be recited, said, spoken in physical word, in Vaikhari, in physical, actual expression, right? Which is not the case for Bhagavad Gita, which is not the case for Vishnu Sahasranama and other stotras. All right. Any question regarding the swaras?
Om Tanmayji, you
Yes.
used a word for the purifying
Pavamana.
Pavamana.
Mantra. Pavamana.
Oh,
There's a
thank you, Om.
Pavamana
Yes.
means that which purifies, a
So
purifying.
you're saying Pavamana?
Pavamana, yes, Pavamana. Pavamana. Pavitra करते हैं ना चीजों को. You purify. Pavitra means pure, right? Shuddha, pavitra. All right. Should we all do the Sahana Vavatu together? Yeah? Yes? Yes.
Yes, let's do
Yes,
it.
Tanmayji, can it be call and repeat?
Okay, sure. So we'll do this pada by pada, line by line. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau bhunaktu Sahaviryam karavavahai Sahaviryam karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Pay close attention to the swara. Pay close attention to what you are saying. Listen to yourself as you say it. Right? Follow the swara that you're looking at. This is a anudata, lowered tone. Lowered tone. Normal, low, normal, high, normal, low. So pay attention to what you are saying. Listen to yourself. Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Very nice. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om
All right. Got a hang of that?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Wonderful. So any questions? This is swaras. We're just touching upon it. And we do it in detail, of course, during our Upanishadic chanting. For now, if there are any questions related to this, please do ask. Otherwise, we will move on to the next one, which is Chanda, which is important for all of you. No? All right. And of course, you know, the questions don't have to be related just here. You can ask at any other point in time also. All right. So we'll go to the next thing, which is Chanda. Again, in English, I know for Hindi speakers, for those who know the Devanagari system, this will look like it is a cha, but the English transliteration in English, cha is represented by ch and cha is represented by c. So this is actually Chanda only, Chanda. So somebody asked, right? I think Dr. Rajika ji asked, meter to what? So Chanda is a meter that is set to various shlokas, various mantras, various stotras. Right? All Sanskritam poems or mantras or shlokas or stotras are given chandas. Not all the time, but most often. Right? Sometimes there aren't any chandas applied at all, but very often there are chandas applied. Chanda, the literal meaning of chanda. It's got the literal meaning of chanda, the etymology of the word chanda, it literally means that which is pleasing, something that is charming, that charms you, that pleases you, that is delightful. Right? That is also all things nice, basically. Right? All things nice. The literal meaning of chanda is that, right? That which is pleasing, that which is delightful, charming, so on and so forth. And chanda out here, it means meter. It is a meter, it is a rhythm, it is a meter that is set to various Sanskrit verses which are set in poetry form. Right? Some of the Upanishads are written in poetry form, some of the Upanishads are written in prose form. So the ones that are written in prose form don't have any chanda to it. So for example, the Mundaka Upanishad is an example of prose, right? There is no chanda there. But there are certain Upanishads which do have chanda to their mantras, right? All right. So as written here, the chandas are applied to shlokas, mantras, etc. for a specific rhythm during its intonation, during its recitation. And a chanda can be identified how? A chanda is typically identified by the number of syllables in a pada. What is a pada? A pada is a quarter verse, is a line, right? A pada is a line. Pada means word, pada means line, right? So usually in most of our, in the Bhagavad Gita, for example, a pada, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Vishnu Sahasranam, Lalita Sahasranam, so on and so forth, a pada is a quarter verse. Quarter verse. So there are four lines in every shlok, right? Four quarter verse means one of the 4 lines, right? So that is a pada. All right. So we'll come to the types of chandas in just a bit. The Vedic chandas are around 15. Vedic chandas, ancient Vedic chandas are around 15, out of which 7 are more widely used. And out of those 7, 2 are most widely used. And we're going to be taking a look at 2 today, right? Not all of them, right? What are those 2? We will take a look at right now. Post-Vedic, after the Vedas, there are many chandas that have been developed, right? Many, right? And there actually, who knows how many there are, but many other chandas have been developed after the Vedas. But mainly in the Vedas, there are a total of around 15 chandas that are used. And like I said, out of them popularly, there are 7 which are used, right? Okay. What are those 7? We will just hear their names for the sake of at least hearing the names. Would you like to hear the names of those 7? Yes.
Yes.
Let me know that you are there, and you
Yes, yes.
We're
very concentrated.
All right.
Because these 2 we know.
Yes, these 2 you know, and some of you know, some of you don't know. So there is a chanda that, actually there's a mantra that you would have heard of with this name, but that mantra is not actually that mantra. It is a chanda that is used for that mantra, and that is Gayatri. Have you heard of the Gayatri? Right? So you'd have heard of the Gayatri mantra. But actually, there are many Gayatri mantras, and they're called Gayatri because of the chanda that is used for them. They're called Gayatri mantra because the chanda that has been used, the meter that has been used, is actually Gayatri. The mantra itself is not a Gayatri mantra, right? So the one that you know as the Gayatri mantra, Om Tat Savitur Varenyam, Om Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. That is actually Gayatri Chanda, and it is a Savitra mantra. Savitra is Surya, the sun, the Lord, the sun god, right? So it's actually Savitra mantra, and the Gayatri Chanda has been used on it. So one is Gayatri, which is popularly also used. You would have also heard, we've done it sometimes. We do it when we do the Lalita Sahasranama. Om Ganambikayai Vidmahe Mahatapayai Dhimahi Tanno Gauri Prachodayat. Right? So this is also Gayatri. How is Gayatri ascertained? We'll come to that in a little bit, right? So right now we're just taking a look at the names. So there's Gayatri is one. There's a chanda called Ushnik. We're looking at 7 popular ones. So Gayatri, Ushnik. There is one that is right here on your screen, which is Anushtup. There is another chanda called Brihati. There is another chanda called Trishtup, which is again right here. There's another one called Pankti, and another one called Jagati. Right? So these are the 7 popularly, more widely used ones in the Vedas. And amongst these 7 popularly used ones, perhaps the most popularly used ones are Anushtup and Trishtup, which we will now understand. Right? We'll also very briefly take a look at Jagati actually. So Anushtup, it can be written with a pa. It can also, often it is also written with a bha. Anushtup and Trishtubha, right? With a halant, so, or pa or bha. Either one is correct. So Anushtup and Trishtup. Anushtup is probably, well, one of the most popularly used meters in classical shlokas, mantras. It contains, how do how do you figure that a mantra, a shloka is Anushtup Chanda? Look for these things. It should have 4 lines, 4 padas. It should be a quatrain verse. It should have 4 lines, 4 padas. Each pada, each line, each quarter verse is Ashtakshara. What is Ashtakshara? Ashta Akshara. That means it contains 8 syllables. 8 syllables. Within the syllables, the visarga is not considered a syllable. Okay, and we'll understand that when we see examples. So each pada has 8 syllables. And since there are 4 lines, 4 padas containing 8 syllables each shloka or each mantra will have a total of 32 syllables. Okay, all right. Does everyone have a copy of the Bhagavad Gita with them right now?
Yes.
Yes.
If not, then I
Yes.
can, in order to understand Anushtup Chanda, otherwise I can just stop this and share the file. How would you like that? You want me to keep this going? You actually don't need to see it. Okay, so if you take the Bhagavad Gita, the first shloka itself, Dhritarashtra Uvacha, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamakaf Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Rajni ji, could I ask you to explain how this is Anushtup Chanda?
Yeah. In all the padas, there are 8 syllables.
So can you give
total,
the example? Yeah.
Like Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, these are 8 syllables. Dharma Kshetra, Kurushetre, these are 8 syllables.
Yeah.
So in each pada, there are 8 syllables, and total in the 4 lines, it's 32 syllables.
Yes. Wonderful.
So this chanda has 32 syllables, and that's how we chant accordingly.
It is Anushtup Chanda. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. Right. So like
Rajni
ji just said, right? You can actually count the number of syllables when you're chanting it, right? So I'll just show you with the count of the phalanges on my fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. So we'll see this now. And out here, we'll count the number of padas, the number of quarter verses, the number of lines, right? So the first one, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, that's 8. Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. The aha is not considered a syllable, a separate syllable, because it is a visarga. It is within the yaha. Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Right? Okay? Clear?
Yes.
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 Okay. All right. So that is Anushtup Chanda.
And the half alphabets are not counted.
Always syllables. So it's not based on the alpha. It's not based on the letter. It is based on the syllable. So for example, the word syllable has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 letters. But how many syllables does syllable have? Syllable. 3. Right? It's a unit of sound. Syllable is a unit of sound, not the number of letters. So it doesn't go based on the number of letters, but on the base of unit of sound. Dharma Kshetre. Dharma Kshetre. Kurukshetre. Samaveta. Yuyutsavaha. All right? Got that? Right? So the Vishnu Sahasranama also. Vishvam Vishnurvashatkaro Bhuta Bhavya Bhavat Prabhuhu. Right? So if you do the counting, it will be exactly the same thing. Right? Similarly, Atma Bodha also. Tapo Bhihi Kshina Papanam. Tapo Bhikshina Papanam. Shantanam Vitaraginam. Mumukshunam apekshoyam atma bodho vidhiyate. Right? So most of the things that you have been chanting, most of it is in Anushtup Chanda. Right? This is just for us to know what are we chanting. That's all. It doesn't make a difference otherwise. Okay, so this is Anushtup Chanda. Any questions about Anushtup Chanda? If there are, feel free to ask. If not,
Tamaji,
yes.
so you just give an example of 3 types of melody for the Anushtup Chanda.
Melody is fine. The melody changes.
Are there specific names for those melodies?
Not really. No.
It's just tradition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Based on the Acharya teaching it. The melody came in later on.
Okay.
And the melody came in later on. Yeah. Okay. I think anything is easier to learn when it is put to song, right? So even the ABCD, for example, right? It is always put to song, ABCD, E, F, G, right? So tune helps to remember the letters or the sound, right? So the melody can change. The melody helps to memorize a little easier, a little bit more easily, right? All right, that's a good question though. Okay, so we go to the next most popularly used chanda, which you see in the Bhagavad Gita also, right? And it's called Trishtub. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the Trishtub shlokas have a special significance, which we'll come to in a little bit, right? So how do you recognize a Trishtub chanda? Again, it has 4 lines, 4 padas. It is again a quatrain containing 4 lines. Yeah, it has 4 lines. Unlike Anushtup, which has 8 syllables in each of the padas, in each of the lines, Trishtub has 11, right? And because there are 4 padas, 4 lines, 11 syllables each, that makes it a total of 44 syllables in Trishtub. So to give you an example, we go to the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, shlok number 7. Very important shlok for those of you who have been studying the Bhagavad Gita. You know that this is where Arjuna asks, he surrenders to Krishna as his guru, and he asks Krishna to teach him, right? So what is that shloka? Karpanya dosho. Let's see this, okay, out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And again, I'll see it out here. Right? So, Karpanya dosho pahatasva bhavaha prichhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha yachreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadhiman tvam prapannam. Okay, 4 padas, 11 syllables, aksharas each in each of the lines, right? Okay, and now I said that the Trishtub Chandas Trishtub Chanda shlokas have a specific, have a special significance in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So, like I said, this is a very important shlok. This is the first time, this is where Arjun surrenders to Bhagwan Krishna, and he says that I accept, I don't know what to do. I have no clue what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. I'm completely confused, right? This feeling that I have, it has taken away my swabhava. It has taken me away from my own personality. I don't know what to do. I'm asking you, please tell me clearly, what should I do? Shishyasteham, I am your student. Shadhimam, please teach me. Tvam prapannam, I bow to you, right? So any shloka which has a specific important meaning, right? These are, I call these a spotlight shlokas. They're extra special. They're conveying a very important meaning within them. And this Bhagavad Gita, if you notice, wherever these Trishtub Chanda shlokas are there, they communicate something a little bit extra special. They're spotlighted. They're extra special shlokas with extra special meaning in them.
Om, this is in chapter number 1 that you just said?
This is in 2 and number 7.
Okay.
Right? The first Trishtub shlok appears in 7, in the 2nd chapter. And the last time that it is used in the Bhagavad Gita is in chapter 15. Again, at a very important juncture, with a very important shlok, the last Trishtub Chanda is used, and I will keep it for your suspense. You can go and do your homework and see what that shloka is. All right. Okay. And I said we'll also see what Jagati is very, very quickly. So like we saw, there are 8 syllables and 4 padas, 4 lines in Anushtup and in Trishtub. Anushtup has 8 syllables each. Trishtub has 11 syllables each. Gayatri has 3 lines, 3 padas, right? There are variations of Gayatri also, which then kind of change a little bit here and there, and they're given specific names. But main Gayatri has 3 lines, right? And the 3 padas have a total of 8 ashtakshara, 8 aksharas. So, Om Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. 3. Right? So that is Gayatri. And Jagati. Have any of you heard the Nirvana Shatakam? Nirvana Shatakam. It was composed by Adi Shankaracharya. It's a very beautiful stotra where one must at some point in time at least listen to it, if not learn it or whatever. So the Nirvana Shatakam is based on Jagati, and it has if we have time, not right now, but at the end of the session, if we have time, I will show you the shlokas of the Nirvana Shatakam to give you the example. That also is a quatrain for padas, right? 4 lines, and each of them have 12 akshars, 12 akshars, 12 syllables, making a total of 48. So we'll take a look at that later on, right? Right. For now, we will move on to the next thing. So Chanda, important, because all of us, I think, we chant the Bhagavad Gita. So I think it's an important, I thought it was an important thing to know the Chanda that you are reciting it in. And if there are any questions, we'll take that. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next thing, which is going to take up a little bit of time. Okay. A couple of questions.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. I'm not so sure who is asking the question.
I'm Sumana.
Yes.
So my question is, when you're talking about the Gayatri, that you said 3 padas. What about Bhur Bhuva Swaha? That's not part of it?
So that is actually not part of the Gayatri mantra. The main Gayatri mantra, the main Savitra mantra actually it starts from Tat Saviturvarenyam. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha came later on, and it has a specific significance, and we can take a look at that later on, but not right now.
Is that what is called as Vyaharati?
Is what called Vyaharati?
Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. Is that Vyaharati?
We'll look at that also later on.
Okay.
Jumping the gun for a little bit right now. It was added on at a later point in time. But when the mantra was seen by Vishwamitra, at that point in time it started from Om Tat Saviturvarenyam.
I have a question. May I ask, please?
Yes, of course, please.
Bhavan is here.
Yes.
Yes. Once I was reading Sundar Kanda, and there is given the chanda like Kanak Koti Vichitra Mani Krite Sundarayatana Ghana. So is it also in chanda? Yeah. What is that? What is the actual, why it's written in this way?
Why we will have to go back and ask the Rachita, the person who has written the Sundar Kanda. So we're right now specifically talking about the shlokas, stotras, Sanskrit mantra, shlokas, and stotras, not of the Ramayana at this point in time. Mahabharata also, prose is not set to chanda. Prose is not set to chanda. Poetry is most of the time set to chanda, right? So these include the mantras of the Vedas, a lot of the stotras that we listen to or that we chant, right? The why is something that it basically, the only thing that can be said is that these stotras, the mantras were all heard, so it came that way, right? The other stotras, they came out of the rishis or out of the you know, out of the creator of that stotra or that mantra or so on and so forth, it came out of their experience, right? And what came out of their experience, it is in that manner that they, you know, wrote it for that reason. Uska to, I don't think one can give a reason for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other question?
Om Tanmay, so in Hindi we can say syllable is an akshar.
Syllable is an akshar, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, syllable is akshar.
Tanmayji?
Yes.
Tanmayji, why does the tune change?
So the melody changes from time to time. The melody is not so important. Like I said, the melody is there to kind of, you know, that adds to the bhakti bhav, right? Bhajans are always in melody, right? You sing the bhajans, right? A mantra, for example, a Vedic mantra will never be said in song format except for which one? The Samaveda mantras. That is in song format. That is in melody format. And again, the melody out there is very specific. Right? The length of the melody, where it changes, why it changes, so on and so forth. Right? For the others, when we're saying the Bhagavad Gita shlokas, for example, somewhere you will hear it in one particular tune or one particular melody, somewhere else in another one. Right? The Sahasranamas also, it depends. And again, this is from tradition to tradition that it changes. The melody isn't an integral part of the stotra or the shloka itself, except for in the Samaveda, which we are not, which we don't do at all, right? The Samaveda Pandits are different Brahmanas who very specifically do that only, right? So the tune changes based on the, you know, school or the Acharya who has taught it.
Okay, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's 7:20 and let's see how much more we can do in this little bit. Moving on, we're coming to Sandhi. Sandhi is a very vast topic, and we're not going to go deep into it at this point in time, right? We're going to touch upon it. And the two things that are important for us for Sandhi, that we'll spend a little bit of time on, and that we'll see right at the end. And that is Anuswara and Visarga. Like I said, we're not yet done with Anuswara and Visarga. So that we will be coming to and spending a little bit of time on, right? So what is Sandhi? Sandhi is something that happens every day, right? There's a word out here called merging, right? So Sandhya Kala, for example, right? We hear this in Hindi, Sandhya Kal, right? What is Sandhya Kal? What is Sandhya? That is also merging, right? What is it? What is merging at that point in time? Why is it called Sandhya Kal?
Day and night merging together.
Right. So there are actually not just one Sandhya, but a couple, right? So when night turns into morning, right? So that is the dawn. That is one Sandhya. When morning turns to noon, that is another Sandhya, right? And when noon turns to evening, that is another Sandhya, right? So there are 3 Sandhya Kals every day in that sense, right? So the Sandhi is basically the merging. Out here, what is it the merging of? So it's written out here, Varnanam Melanam Sandhi. The merging of 2 words. Varna actually is of 2 letters, right? So it is the merging of 2 letters and also the merging of 2 words into one is Sandhi. When a Sandhi takes place, when 2 words merge into one, the following could happen. What are these things? There could be a change in only one of the 2 merging letters, or there could be a dropping off or disappearance of a letter, it's completely gone, or there could be a creation of a new letter, right? This is again for us to just kind of see and understand why certain words appear the way they do in the Bhagavad Gita and in some of the various stotras that we do once again, right? So a Sandhi could result in what? In some kind of a change in either one letter or in both the letters. What letter? The ending of one word and the beginning of the other, right? So the beginning and the ending, there might be a change in either one or both, right? There could be a dropping of the letter. It's gone. It's disappeared. Or there could be a creation of another letter. Okay, so we'll take a look at the main kinds of sandhis and then concentrate on the ones that we actually really need to remember. Okay, so there are 3 broad types of sandhis. One is called Ach Sandhi or Swara Sandhi. Right? Ach Sandhi is the merging of swaras. What are swaras? This is not the tonality swara, but the vowel swara. So the morphing of vowels, right? The morphing of a vowel at the end of one word and the beginning of another word, right? That is called ach sandhi. There are broadly 8 types of ach sandhi, swara sandhi, 8 types. I've given just, and that depends on whether it is a and merging, a and a merging, right? A and E merging, so on and so forth. So then they're given different names, right? Which we're not getting into again right now, but we're going to take a look at some examples of all of these. So for example, Rama plus Ayana. There is a out here and a out here, which becomes a. A plus a is a. So it becomes Ramayana. There is a typo out here. I'm sorry about that. I'll fix it and send it to you. So this is Ramayana. It's correct in the English for some reason, right? Deva plus Amsha. A plus a once again is equal to a, right? A plus a is equal to a. A plus a is also equal to a. So Deva plus Amsha becomes Devamsha. Devamsha. Kada plus api. A plus a becomes kadapi. A plus a becomes a. A plus a. It's yoga. There are a lot of yoga teachers out here. So, you know, I say to you, try not to say yoga wherever you go. It's not yoga. It is yoga. So yoga plus asan becomes yogasan. Yoga plus Ishwar becomes Yogeshwar. A plus E is A. Yogi plus Ishwar is Yogeshwar. Right? Yogeshwar is said to be Sri Krishna. Yogeshwar is said to be Bhagwan Shankara Shiva. All right. Some more examples of these swara sandhis or ach sandhi. Couple of more. We just saw the as and as, right? And one A and one E. Some more. So Surya plus Uday. A plus U becomes O. And June, you had a question yesterday, right? So this kind of answers that also. I'm going to go back a little bit. You'd asked whether this, you know, is it dependent on the sandhi? So that was kind of yes, because A plus U becomes O. We saw this yesterday in the swaras, right? So that kind of answers the question that you had asked yesterday. Okay, coming back, right. Surya plus Uday, Suryodaya. Deva plus Rishi. Remember, this is a swara, right? This comes amongst the swaras, right? So this is still swara sandhi. So A plus R becomes Ar. Devarshi. This has disappeared. The Ri out here has disappeared. It has become Ar. Devarshi. Deva plus Rishi has become Ar. Devarshi. Right? Tatha plus Eva becomes I. Tathaiva. This is called Guna Sandhi, and typically it is to do with a Ra somewhere in it. Guna Sandhi. It's taken on the Guna. It's taken on a Ra. Right? This is called a Vriddhi because again it's an A plus A, therefore it is called Vriddhi. Vriddhi. Then there is something called Yana Swara, which has to do with Ya or Va. So Iti plus Aham. Iti plus Aham. When these two merge, there is a new letter that has come in its place. Ityaham. Ya. It is a Vyanjan. It is a consonant. Right? So when these two merge, it creates a consonant. Prati Eka. Again, the same thing. A new consonant has been created. Yeka. Ya. Pratyeka. Manu plus Antara. U plus A creates Va. So the U has gone, the A has gone, both have disappeared, and a Va has come in its place. Manvantara. For those who have done the Atma Bodha, you'll remember another example. Vyapritesh Vindriyesh Vatma. That is an example of this particular Yana Swara Sandhi. Vyapriteshu Indriyeshu Atma becomes Vyapritesh Vindriyesh Vatma. The va comes out there and that's in its place, right? So that is another example of Yana Swara Sandhi. Okay. So these are the sandhis with regard to vowels, swaras. Nothing really to know, just to observe and understand, which will then help us in our pronunciation, because often we get confused because of very, very long words. But when you're able to identify them in this manner, it becomes easy to pronounce those very long compound words. All right. We come to the next one, which is actually a part of this Swara Sandhi. It's a sub part of, we said that there are 8 types of Swara Sandhis. One of them is called Purva Rupa Sandhi. Purva Rupa, so it literally means, Purva Rupa means preceding form, and Sandhi means the morphing or merging. So Purva Rupa Sandhi, what happens? We'll just see what it is, right? So when a pada anta, when the end of a word ends with a, or o, and the next word begins with a or a, then sometimes what happens is this the succeeding word, this a or a, that is dropped, right? And it takes on the sound of this a, o. All right? Could I please request everyone to just mute themselves, since I can't see you right now? Give me 1 second, I'll just mute it.
Swatiji, please mute. Swatiji, please mute.
Okay. There you go. Coming back. I'll just share this once more. All right. We'll see this with an example. Right now, it's all just words, so maybe not able to understand it. We'll just understand this in a second. When this akara, when a letter is dropped, the a or the a is dropped, it takes on a particular symbol, and that symbol is called avagraha. And where do we see this avagraha? We saw it in the symbols out here, right? This is an avagraha. It takes on that. So we'll just look at an example. For this is called Purva Rupa Sandhi, remember? Right? It is one of the Swara Sandhis. So for example, Eko plus aham. It's actually Ekaha plus aham, which becomes Eko plus aham, right? So what happens out here is that the a gets dropped, and it takes on this avagraha symbol, and the word then becomes Ekoham. Ekoham bahushyam. I am one, let me be many. All right, so Ekoham. An example from the Bhagavad Gita, many sandhis going on out here. Yavat, etan, nirikshe, aham becomes Yavadetan nirikshe ham. The a gets dropped, and Purva Rupa, it takes this aham takes on the sound of the previous aham. So Yavat etan nirikshe ham. Right? An example from the Mundaka Upanishad, since a lot of us have done that. Bharadvajaha or Bharadvajo angirase becomes, the a gets dropped, and what does it become? Bharadvajongirase. The avagraha takes the place of the a. At times, the a is dropped, right? If there is a word which has an a, and when the a is dropped, then 2 avagrahas take its place. So for example, tada, this is again from Mundaka Upanishad, tada ajya bhagavantarena ahutihi pratipadayet. Right? So what happens to this is there's a double avagraha out here in 2 places. Tada ajya. Right? So the a has been dropped, and these 2 symbols have been replaced by these 2 symbols. Tada jabhagavantarena huti. Again, a has been dropped, and the avagraha comes here. Right? So again, just to understand, because we will see this a lot when we are chanting, to understand why is that symbol there, and what does it mean, and what am I supposed to say? Therefore, we're doing this, right? So this is Purva Rupa Sandhi. This is called an avagraha, and an avagraha, when you see an avagraha, that means that the next, what is there after the avagraha, right? How is that to be pronounced? By first pronouncing the vowel that appears before the avagraha. All right? Okay. Any questions so far out here? Probably not.
Amaji.
Thank you for explaining the double avagraha.
Yes, June.
So when Sanskrit was like created, I was reading like the history, and it comes Panini with the Sandhi rules.
Yes.
So, and I see the Mundaka Upanishad is written with the Sandhi rules. So did the mantras change with the introduction of Panini's rules in the Sanskrit? Or
the Veda mantras have never changed. They've always remained the same.
okay.
The Veda mantras have remained the same. They're apaurushaya. Nobody can mess with them. No one can change them. Right? Nobody can change them.
So the Panini Sanskrit doesn't really affected them in any way.
The Panini Sanskrit has perhaps taken from the Veda,
okay.
Veda rules. It has borrowed from there, and then it is applied to the rest of them.
Okay.
Veda mantras are never are as they are, right?
Okay.
Other things could have changed, right? Other things have been embellished, and something has been put on, and something has changed, and so on and so forth. The Bhagavad Gita, for example, it's got, originally it has 700 shloks, but one shlok has been added on later on, for example, right? But that is not the case with the Vedas. Okay. All right. So we'll go to the next one, which is still within Sandhi. And this is again just to understand how this happens, and because we see it a lot when we are chanting, and then suddenly what we chant and then what is explained in Acharya Raviji's class, it suddenly seems different. That this is why is this word here and why is that word here? Right? It's because of this Sandhi. So Vyanjan Sandhi is the second one. The first one that we saw is to do with the vowels, the swaras. The second one is to do with the consonants. Yeah, Vyanjan. Yeah. So the merging of, so again, two words, one word ending with the Vyanjan, with a consonant, the second one also starting with a consonant. When they merge, what happens? So out here, you will notice that they're all these words, the examples that I've given out here. So for the Sanskrit, for the Devanagari, you'll see that there's a halant out here at the end of at least the first word, right? And in the case of the English, there is no vowel following the end letter, correct? Right? If there was a vowel following the end letter, what would that mean? That it is not Vyanjan Sandhi. Okay, it's a swara, right? It's a swara. Okay, so therefore it is called Vyanjan, because this is not followed by a swara. Yat, tat, so on and so forth, shat, so on and so forth, right? Not followed by a swara, right? So this is the half, the root, right? Without the swara. Okay, so for example, yat plus tat becomes yat tat, a double ta. Tat plus cha becomes tat cha. Mat plus chitta becomes mat chitta. And I do want to point out, because there was a question which we won't address right now. Chitta and chit are two different things. Right? Chitta and chit are two different things. Somebody said that I have to work on my chitta, and then somebody else asked, oh, what, do you mean Vedantic chitta, or do you mean this? So Sat Chit Ananda, that chit is different and chitta is different. We'll come to that later on, not today. Okay. All right. So mat plus chitta is mat chitta. Be of my mind, be of my chitta, my individual consciousness, my subconscious, right? Sat plus jan is sajjana. Shat plus masa becomes sharnmasa, right? And there's many different examples to give, right? Unlimited, so we won't really see that. Within Vyanjan Sandhi, something that is important for us is Anuswara Sandhi. And although Anuswara is actually categorized as what? What is Anuswara categorized as? What are they categorized as? They're categorized as swaras, as vowels, but Anuswara Sandhi comes under Vyanjan Sandhi, right? Why? Because the Anuswara is a representation of that fifth letter, right? Ang, nya, na, ma, na, correct? Okay, all right. So this is important for us, because we do try as much as possible during the Bhagavad Gita to follow the rules of this Anuswara Sandhi, and most definitely while chanting the Upanishadic mantras and the Vedic mantras and the prayers that we do. So I'm going to pause out here, and it's 7:40. And this might take a little bit of time. So would you like to continue? Or would you like to take it to another day?
Can we please take it to another day?
Can we do another session? Yeah.
Okay. So my next question would be tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock India time. Is that okay for everyone? Because tomorrow we don't have Raviji's class.
No, ma'am, I'd be working, Acharya ji, at that time. This time evening we can do.
Okay, so give me a moment. I will have to ask permission of the Mundaka Upanishad chanters. Are you all okay with not doing the Mundaka Upanishad chanting tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you all so much. See, so very accommodating. Huh? Adjust, accommodate, right? Adapt, adjust, accommodate. You're all doing that, right? So
But Pamaji, only I replied. I don't know if the other are also.
I'm sure.
No, it's okay for us also. No problem.
All right. Okay. So let's take a few questions if you have any. I know it gets very heavy and I'm doing this now by experience because Ritu ji, June, Rajni ji, you'll all notice how different this is from the last time that we did the sessions earlier on, which were probably a little heavy. So given how heavy they have been earlier on, I'm going very slow and taking time with it so that we understand properly. Okay. Should I stop the sharing right now? Sharing of the screen?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So let's take any questions if there are any questions. I hope this is not very overwhelming, is it?
No.
It's just sinking in.
Okay. Like I said, at this point in time, it's theory, right? So, you know, for example, if you're learning asanas, right? And you're learning the theory of Shirshasana, that first do this, then do this. It's words. You have no idea what's going on, right? It's like, what? Make your hands like that. You don't know what to do, right? At that point in time, right? It's like studying to be a doctor. So many of you are doctors, right? When it was all just theory and then you actually put it into practice, it was very different, correct? So this is again, like I said, it's theory. At this point in time, not making all that much sense. But when we do this with examples, which is what we will do tomorrow, it will start to make a lot more. It won't seem difficult at all, right? It will all make sense at that point in time. All right, so I'll invite any questions if there are any, and if not, then we will end with our prayers.
Tanmayji, when we are using that word kurvannapnoti and prasannatma, it's a double na. So that half na is not an anuswara here?
It is. It could be written either way. It is an anuswara.
Okay.
No, hang on. Prasannatma. Why? No. It is an anuswara, but it is not written as an anuswara. Why? We just did it yesterday.
Because yes. Because a full na follows it.
Correct. Right. So that is the rule, that when an anuswara is followed by the same fifth letter. So for example, a half na would have been an anuswara, but when it is followed by a full na, then it cannot be written as an anuswara, right? With ma, with na, with nya, so on and so forth, right? We did that yesterday. If it is followed by a half na, like we saw again yesterday, sannyasa, yes, then it is written as an anuswara.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Tanmayji?
Yes, Meeraji.
The last example of Vyanjan Sandhi, given Shat plus...
Yeah, Shat plus Masa.
What rule is applying here?
These are the rules of Sandhi. Again, like I said, we're not going deep into that. We're not getting into the why, because that takes a very, that is a whole, it's a whole limb of the Vedas of its own, right? So it's basically, it's again, Panini's rules. The ta and the ma, when they come together, it becomes a na. Yeah, it becomes a na. After the ta with the hala and the ma, when they collide, it becomes a na.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Just for your information, because somebody had requested for the prayers, each of these sessions which are conducted, you know, some start with some prayer, some start with another prayer. So I've just made a PDF which has some of the prayers that we do. This is so that you can probably learn them. And within those prayers, there are some which are Upanishadic or Vedic prayers, right? So for example, Asatoma, Sahana Vavatu, and Purnamadaha, right? These are from the Upanishads. They're Vedic prayers, right? While the others are from some Puran or some Acharya has created it. These ones, Asatoma, Sahana Vavatu, and Purnamadaha, they're Vedic prayers, they're Vedic mantras. Asatoma, like we just heard a little while ago, it's taken from the Brihad Aranyak Upanishad. And like I said, it is a Pavamana mantra. It is a purifying mantra. So typically it was used sometimes before a yajna, before the start of something auspicious, or actually anything to make it auspicious, right? So it does the job of purifying, right? Purifying what? Purifying physically, purifying subtly, purifying energetically, everything around and within, right? So that is Asatoma. From all that is not true, take me to the one truth, right? Asatoma Sadgamaya. Sahana Vavatu and Purnamadaha. So now there are 4 Vedas, right? 4 Vedas. What are these? Rig Ved, Samaved, Yajurved, Atharvana Veda. All of these Vedas, they're not one Grantha, they're not one scripture, they're not one book, right? They're not one anthology of something, right? They have sections within it, right? So there are the Veda Samhitas, which contain the mantras, the ritualistic mantras only. Then there are the Brahmanas, the next part, which explain what ritual is for what, when it is to be used, how is it to be performed, so on and so forth. That's the Brahmanas. Then there is the Aranyakas, which now moves on to something higher, something a little beyond, just yajna. So it moves on to the devotional aspect of it, the upasana aspect of it, the dhyana, upasana, worshipping aspect of it, bhakti aspect of it. And finally, there's the last portion, which is why it is called Vedanta, Vedanta, which is also called the Upanishads. That is the last part, the Anta part, the end part of the Vedas, the Upanishads, right? So the Rig Ved has Rig Ved Samhita, Rig Ved Brahman, Rig Ved Aranyak, Rig Ved Upanishad, so on and so forth for each of them, right? So these Upanishads, typically, they all start off with something called a Shanti Patha, a Shanti Mantra, right? So Sahana Vavatu is a Shanti Patha, Shanti Mantra. Purnamadaha is a Shanti Mantra. Bhadran Karnebhi is a Shanti Mantra, right? So these are Shanti Mantras. You're chanting Vedic mantras at that point in time, right? They're from the Vedas, right? And the Upanishad starts with it and ends with it, right? So Rig Ved Upanishad, most of the Rig Ved Upanishads will have the same Shanti mantra. The Yajurved, Krishna Yajurved Upanishad will have the same Shanti mantras. Shukla Yajurved mantras will have the same, so on and so forth. Atharvana Veda, right? So they're not just merely words. They are mantras, right? So Purnamadaha, for example, Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. Right? Important to know where these are from, right? Yes. So it is from the Shukla Yajurveda. Purnamadaha is from the Shukla Yajurveda. Right? And therefore, the file that I will be sending, it has the swaras attached to it, so that we can say it with the correct swaras also, right? Ideally. Finally, yes.
This can be said in before anything, any meeting or something, and you end it with when can you say Asatoma before a prayer, before you start your prayers in a temple, or is that where you can put it in?
You can say it anywhere. You can say it anywhere, right?
Thank you.
You can start there is no one thing that is, you can make everything a yajna finally, right? You can make everything, you can give everything a higher purpose, anything that you do, right? So in the Indian system, that's what you have, right? When you eat food, you're not just merely eating food for filling your stomach, right? That is also a yajna that you're doing. And therefore you first pray, right? When you have a bath, again, there is a mantra that can be recited before having a bath, right? Which also then makes it a yajna, right? So any activity which seems so ordinary or small, it can be immediately given that much more gravity, that much more importance by making it of a higher purpose, right? So the asatoma, any activity that you're doing, any undertaking that you're doing, you can always say it before that, any of the Shanti mantras. And of course, we always say these mantras at the start and at the end of these sessions, right? So
Purnamadaha, I'll be very grateful if you can also share with me the mantra before eating and the mantra before bath, if you could tell us whenever you have time.
Before eating, it's from the Bhagavad Gita. Brahmar Pranam. I'll send it to you. Huh? No problem. But Brahmar Pranam, Brahma Vihi, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam. Have you heard that one?
Yes.
No, Acharya.
Or I'll send that across to you. Right? There's another one that is also recited actually. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninan Dehamat Ashatah. That's also from the Bhagavad Gita, from the 15th chapter. Right?
Sahana.
Say that again.
Yes, please. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, the Shanti mantra like Om Deho Shantiran Antarikshagam Shanti Prithvi Shanti Rapaha. Is it also Vedic mantra?
That is also a Vedic mantra. Absolutely. Right? That is also Vedic. And again, that needs to be said in a particular manner. Huh? Right? That also needs to be said in a particular manner. So the ones that we say, Sahana Bhavatu, is also very popularly used. It's very popularly used across, right? Not just here, but it is perhaps the most popular one. And we'll do the meanings at some point in time. I'll actually ask you to request Acharya Raviji, who will explain it very nicely from an Advaita Vedantic point of view, getting behind each of the meanings. So that is something that he can do. But for now, we should just know where we are, where, these things that we chant, where they come from. So Sahana Bhavatu is a Krishna Yajurveda mantra, and it is there, for example, whenever we do the Katha Upanishad, you will find it there. At some point in time, if Acharya does the Shvetara Upanishad, it is found there as well, right? Another one that we do is Bhadram Karne Bhi. And the ones who are doing that particular Upanishad, would you like to attempt and tell me which Veda it belongs to?
Atharvana.
And how do you know that?
Atharvana. Because
yes, that's absolutely right. It's there in one of the beginning shlokas of the Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad.
Yes.
Devanam
Prathama Sambhabhuva
Karta Bhuvanasya Gopta Sa Brahma Vidyam Sarva Vidyam Atharvaya.
Yes.
Putraya.
Atharvaya. Right? Atharvana, Brahmaji gave it to Atharva, Atharvana gave it down the line. Right? So it is an Atharvana Veda Upanishad. The Mundaka Upanishad is an Atharva Veda Upanishad, and this Sahana Bhavatu is Bhadram Karne Bhi is there in these Atharva Veda Upanishads. Okay, that's about it. See you again tomorrow at 6:30. Thank you all so much for your.
Tanmayji, I have a question from that Purnamada. When we say, don't we pronounce it as fur? And yesterday in the class, and even otherwise, I remember that there is there's nothing like fur. It's per.
Yeah.
So why is it?
Yeah. So you missed one thing. Huh? I said that, and I also said one more thing. Huh? So I said there is no that it is always per. Right? Sanskrit doesn't have fur, except there is one exception, and we will come to that later.
Okay, got it.
And we will come to that later. So that later will come tomorrow.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Thank you so much, Acharya ji.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much, Tanmay ji.
Thank you for not.
Thank you, Tamarji.
The
Thank
fun
you.